Hey, welcome back to Inside the Huddle. Thanks to our friends at Wolverine State Brewing Company who hosted us on Friday night to celebrate my 40th birthday. Brandon Brown actually showed up to something I've invited him to for the very first time, so thank you for coming.
Hey, quit being such a smarty pants, all right, kid?
Zach and Emma showed up, so thanks for you guys for coming out.
Thanks for inviting us for once.
That's true. Quite a few other friends. And Wolverine, again, treated us first class. They always do. Tomorrow, it's not your traditional place that has punch keys, but if you're looking for a very creative punch key, and we will be announcing during the 11 o'clock hour tomorrow what type of punch keys that they have at Wolverine State Brewing Company. He's gonna knock it out of the park. I guarantee you. You can find them on Stadium Boulevard, 2019 West Stadium Boulevard, WolverineBeer.com. They do more than just beer and nachos. Although, I think every single person that went on Friday got the nachos.
Yeah.
Like, I got it with Eva, and then...
I finished like half of Jamie's, your buddy Jamie.
My friend Emily came in and she got them,
Yeah.
and then Jamie got them, and then Zach and Emma get there, and the first thing they get was the nachos.
They're good, man.
I think everybody got the nachos. I mean, it speaks to they're some of the best you'll have in Ann Arbor for sure. So, all right, our basketball question here today, coming off of the Wolverines' 71-63 victory over Purdue, their fifth in a row. This is a fourth straight road game win too, and I know a couple of those came against Northwestern and Nebraska, but they beat Rutgers on the road, snapped their 17-0 unbeaten streak at home this year, and then go down and beat Purdue, a place that is extremely difficult for opponents to win in. So, gentlemen, Isaiah Livers returned. He looked pretty good. I didn't really see, I don't know if you saw him look like he had any type of lingering. He did have one, was it a dunk or one of the times he drove to the ground, and I think like every Michigan fan was like,
yeah.
What's he doing?
He plays that style of basketball now, which is a complete transformation from his freshman year, by the way. I mean, I think he drew like 2 fouls his entire freshman season. Yeah, he's going to keep scaring fans like that. It's just the way he plays. Can't tell him to stop.
He got hurt originally against, was it Presbyterian?
Yes.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
Just double checking as I'm looking at this.
And then he re-hurt his groin against Illinois January 25th. Yep. And then he
rolled his ankle against Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Missed the Rutgers game, came back for Purdue. Okay.
He's missed at least one game in each of his 3 years due to injury. I know that, Zach, you had this other day that he's had 5 separate injuries in his career.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not all related, but there's been a couple ankle issues. There was a back issue last year because they were staying at a hotel bed, and he has like that one of those custom super therapeutic orthopedic. I don't know the word. Dr. Stoller would probably be better, but he's got a custom bed for his back. So plays hard, and takes a tumble here and there.
Well, anyway, with Isaiah Livers in the fold, Michigan has been, pretty damn good in the Big Ten this year. And so my question is since he has missed 9 games for the Wolverines this season, if you had a healthy Isaiah Livers, based on the body of work with a healthy Isaiah Livers, where does Michigan rank in the Big Ten? And second part, what NCAA seed would Michigan deserve? I know this is a little bit cheating. You don't have a healthy Isaiah Livers. You get the seed that you get based off of your entire, everything you've done all season. But if we played a little devil's advocate here, if you had a healthy Isaiah Livers, where does Michigan rank in the Big Ten? Are they the second best team in the Big Ten behind Maryland? Are they the third best team? And what would their deserving NCAA seed be? Now, we kind of talked about it. I mean, I haven't looked at a bracket matrix. I think they're up to a 6 seed. Could they play their way to a 5? Could they play their way to a 4 seed? I think it's quite possible they could play their way to a 4 seed if they keep on winning these games. But what do they deserve if they had a healthy Isaiah Livers all year?
I think there's 5 games. Excuse me, 5 games you look at immediately when you talk about if he had been in the lineup. I think at Minnesota. Minnesota's not that good this year, but the Barn is a tough place to play. I think in Michigan, I believe they had the lead in the second half in that game, if I'm not mistaken, just going off memory. They lost by 8. I think that one certainly is a winnable game. The at Iowa game, that one could very well be a loss still.
I felt like they played better in that game.
They only lost by 7, so I mean, like, you can look at that one and say maybe Isaiah Livers makes a difference, but Iowa's a good team. They were at home.
7 with 7 minutes to go.
So So I mean that entire 4 games losing streak, I think you could honestly say like they may win all 4 of those. The 2 home games, Penn State ended up being a 9-point loss, but that one was closer than it was. And then of course the 2-point buzzer beater loss against Illinois, where Io DeSumo hits the jumper over Xavier Simpson. That one absolutely could have been a win with Isaiah Livers. And then
Well, he did play in that one. He just got hurt.
he got hurt, yeah, and then they had momentum, I feel like, in the second half, and then he got hurt. And then the Ohio State loss at home when Ohio State was not playing very well at all. Those 5 games jump out immediately as like, I mean, I don't think you can just say like, well, they would have won all 5. So, change their conference record by a full 5-game swing. I don't think you can do that, but I think you can legitimately go through each one of those games and say they're a hell of a lot different with him in the lineup, or him all the way healthy for that Illinois game anyway. But I think they're right in that, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd place outright in the Big Ten, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks to think about because, I mean,
Well, if
Yeah,
you flip,
he's missed
if you
9
flip
or 10
3
games.
games, if you go, if that 5 that they've lost, they're 3-2.
Yeah, they're
Now
tied
they're
for first.
12-5, right?
yeah,
And yeah, they're tied for
12
first
and 4.
with Maryland.
12-4.
Yeah, I actually
Same
do
record as
think
Maryland.
I think you can make an argument for 3 games.
Yeah.
I don't think they would. Minnesota had something going. Iowa did not. They should. That is a game that they squandered, even though the margin I think ended up being about the same. I felt like the way they played at Iowa, that they did a lot more winning basketball in that game, and if they had someone who could hit a 3 in the second half, then I think that they come away with the victory. I mean, that was really Eli Brooks putting on an amazing display. And then I do think the Illinois and then Ohio State games. I know he played against Illinois, and you had players with tears running down their face talking about how it took the wind out of the sail when he went out with injury. I mean, that's they played for Isaiah. There's something. I mean, I think they did play hard, but well, think about how he hit all those free throws at Purdue on Saturday. He hit 8 in the final 2 minutes. What could they not do against Illinois in the final 2 minutes? Hit 1 free throw. And so I think that makes a big difference. Now you had some out like Franz. That might have been one of the first. Might have been the only 0 for 2 trip to the line he's had all season. And then I think Ohio State, they really probably should have won that game even without him. I mean, I think they just seemed like the better team, except for like a few key moments, which matters. The one thing I will say though, I don't think it's quite as easy. I'm going to make it a 2-game swing instead of a 3-game swing because I think without the adversity, without the rock bottom, I don't think you have this ascent. I don't think you have this team playing that well. I mean, John Teskey had to really look himself in the mirror. Brandon Johns had to. I mean, think about how he played against Rutgers. That was phenomenal the first time. I mean, I think that was him realizing, hey, this is not going to cut it. I need to up my game. Think about all the times that Colin Castleton or Austin Davis have stepped up. I mean, there's something to be said for getting that hunger. And I think last year's team, from my view covering the team, I think they needed more of that. I think they needed a 3-game losing streak to really come roaring into the Big Ten tournament, roaring against Michigan State and into the NCAA tournament. It's it's a Rocky 3 deal. Got to recapture the eye of the tiger, but at the same time, I think it forced players to get better. Eli Brooks was really hit or miss in December and then the early part of January. Now he's very reliable in on both sides of the ball. Xavier Simpson has kind of taken a more selfless role. Now he's about to set the assist record, so I think he was always selfless to an extent, but there was a stretch where I don't think he was playing his best basketball. So I always wonder, I won't give them three more wins, I give them 2, just because I think if they gain 1, they might have lost, one of these 2 to Purdue or Rutgers.
Very true.
So, but still, it makes a big difference. And I think at the end of the season, it's going to be, well, for them, I'm sure they're hoping that they can do something in the postseason because the regular season will be a lot of what could have been. Because I mean, right now they look like they're right there with Maryland.
According to Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, who's one of the leading experts, supposedly anyway, on bracketology, he has Michigan as a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
What city? Is he the one with Tampa against Auburn?
Sacramento.
Oh, not as fun.
I think
Sacramento against Stephen F. Austin, and then a potential second-round matchup with Oregon if they were to advance. I know a lot of people are like, The one thing I don't want is Michigan to have a 5 seed because of the history of 5-12. But I think the last couple of years have shown a little bit that they used to have the 12 seeds underseeded because a lot of them were like mid majors and they didn't give enough credit to.
Net rankings have kind of smoothed that out.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say don't be worried. I mean, any matchup in the NCAA tournament other than a 1-16, unless you're Virginia, you're going to have that one. But a 5-12, still feel pretty good about it. And according to Bracket Matrix, they are a 6 seed now, and I do think that they could rise as high as a 4.
To piggyback on what Zach said too, he talked about the hunger, the back against the wall mentality, the fight, the effort. We talked about maybe that's where this effort on defense has come from, is some of those rockier moments earlier in the year. And I agree 100% all those intangible things, but you also have a long list of tangible things you can now look at. You have tons of game film on Brandon Johns where they can go back and look at that. You have Eli Brooks, maybe a game from earlier in the year where he does one thing and he's a little bit more passive, and then a game from last week or 2 weeks ago where he's much more aggressive, and they can point out these specific examples in film sessions. You've got, recordable minutes of how much these guys have spent, how much time these guys have spent on the floor. Austin Davis, here's a move that works, because guys doing it in practice versus guys doing it in games is like night and day. And they watch practice film, and Juwan watches practice film. He's got analysts that break that stuff down, and you can say like, well, Austin, here's what you do in practice over and over and over. Now let's put it in a game. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't always work that way. But if you do it in a game and you see yourself doing it in a game, and now you can go back and retread it and watch it again, and then I just think, to Zach's point, there's a ton of intangible stuff, and I think there's a ton of tangible stuff too that comes from Isaiah Livers being hurt. You don't ever want that, but there's a pretty immeasurable and measurable silver lining here with some of these things that are clearly showing themselves on the court right now, really on both ends of the floor, but especially on defense.
Well, Zach, you said something too about, I don't know which one you said, Xavier Simpson's gone through a little bit, and then he's playing his best. Right now, you can make the case that Xavier Simpson's playing the best basketball, certainly of the season, maybe not his career, but certainly of his season. You can make the case that Franz Wagner's playing the best basketball of his career. You can make the case that Isaiah Livers, when healthy, is playing the best basketball of his career. You can make the case that David Julius has now started to come on and kind of figure out his role as playing the best basketball of his career. Obviously, Austin Davis is playing the best basketball of his career. That's 5 guys right there. I think Teskey still has the room to get there, but Saturday's game was a positive step forward. I think Brandon Johns, he needs to kind of figure out now. He had the huge role when Isaiah Livers got hurt and started playing really well. Now he's gone back to the bench and kind of figuring out like how does he find his new niche, the one that he was really good at before Livers got hurt, so he can still play his best basketball. And then who's the last person?
You haven't named Brooks.
Oh,
but
Eli Brooks.
I think he's more in the other category. Best
playing his best basketball
career.
when he's not getting smashed in the face. So
most consistent. Yeah.
I didn't realize. Has this been talked about? I don't remember this being mentioned on the broadcast. I don't think I looked it up when I was playing. Simpson didn't make a basket.
No.
Yeah, he was over 10.
Yeah.
I don't think you had the broadcast on. They mentioned it like 20 times.
Yeah, he was.
Maybe I just wasn't
for 5.
They had the graphic every time he shot.
I don't remember ever seeing that.
So that's a testament to how he's playing.
That's pretty crazy. Exactly. That's what I wanted to look at, because you said he's changed what he's doing. He's playing a little differently. Let's reassess what he was doing and what was working.
Yeah, it was
so
the shots he was missing on
did.
Saturday were very strange. Like layups that bounced on both sides of the rim and then somehow didn't go in.
He did shoot 5 threes.
Yeah,
a little more than I probably want him to. But you got to take what the defense gives you. Every team should sag on him. Some teams choose not to, and he just picks them apart on his, with his assist numbers. But
if it was a close game and he's shooting threes, that's a little different. They were up by 15. I don't.
And
shoot if you're open.
I'd be willing to bet that he has not taken a contested 3 all year.
I think that's actually fair to say.
He's like wide open most times, because like I said, that's what I would do if I was an opposing coach.
Sometimes he can do like a free throw bounce.
Yeah, he does. He sets it. He has a very deliberate set shot look. Anyway, it almost looks like an extended free throw. But yeah, he's playing outstanding. Maybe not specifically in the game against Purdue, but efficient.
In the last 5 games, I think is the window we can look at. And
6 assists, only 1 turnover. You still take that. 7 boards. Mm-hmm. Who's a leading rebounder? How about that? Okay.
Hey, I know a lot of people are afraid of this 5 seed idea. they have not lost once in the last 2 tournaments.
So the 2 years that they've had the net rankings.
And just once in the last 3. If you go back the last 5 tournaments, the 5 seed has won 17 of 20 games against 12 seeds.
Yeah. Okay. So that.
I mean, you go and look at like all the matchups.
Don't tell too many people. I got a bracket pool to win.
Yeah, that's. I bet you other than like 16-1 and 2-15. I bet you that's probably one of the highest in the last 20. You take 20 matchups to go 17-3 in those 20 matchups. So I'm just saying.
I could see them.
12 seeds are 47 and 89 since 1985.
Right, I understand, but it's changed in the last 5 years. They've done a much better job seeding the tournament the last few years, and especially since the net rankings came out in the last couple. So
yeah,
I don't think that's that big of a deal. But yeah, Michigan basketball playing some of its best, and looking at these games going forward. Any other big takeaways from Michigan Purdue over the weekend? By the way, what's the status of Eli Brooks?
I would assume he's going to be okay.
So he wanted to come back in. He was not allowed to come. I mean,
was it nose, mouth, cheek?
Jawan was doing that thing that he does, and most coaches do.
He was leaking. He was leaking pretty good. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think they were smart not to put him back in. I think because you don't know about concussion. I mean, he not just the contact, but the fall was kind of hard too. Mm-hmm. And then you want to make sure there's not structural damage. I mean, you want things to settle down. I think he was right not to come in. I could see him playing third. I mean, they actually have a couple extra days.
Yeah, long break.
I could see him. I don't think he broke his nose. Even if he did, depending on the break, he could do the Rip Hamilton, come back with the mask.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think we will get him on Wednesday? It seems like a move they would do.
Press conference?
Yeah. Trot out tough old Eli. I think we might.
It's possible.
I think we might get him on because people are going to ask.
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind. I'd prefer that than...
Yeah.
Because I always love when coaches say, and Michael, I know you get annoyed by this, when the coaches say, like, you'll have to ask him.
And then they don't.
Yeah. And then the guy comes out and is like, "Oh, you'll have to ask coach."
Or no, they don't bring that.
Yeah, they don't bring the player out.
That's a better question for Eli, and then you don't get Eli. Okay. Well,
I don't know how Eli's feeling, if he's hurt or anything like that. You'll have to ask him. Yeah, and it's like, oh, so he'll be available today? I don't know if he's coming or not.
That's a better question for the doctor. Oh, could we talk to the doctor?
No, it's not allowed. Patient privacy.
Well, that part I'm not actually. That's a legal thing.
No, but coaches say stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then you're like, well, dude, then let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will he be impacted at all by this? I'm not really sure. We haven't had a practice yet.
They did that. They literally did that Friday asking about Isaiah Livers, and he's like, "Yeah, we haven't practiced yet." So, and then we were like, "Well, did he practice yesterday?" And it's like, "Well, we did kind of a walkthrough. He was present."
And I'll tell you what, and I think maybe the broadcast pointed this out, but to miss most of the second half without Eli Brooks, one of your most consistent shooters, one of your best players overall, and still blow them out of the water.
And he's been their money guy on the road. If you look at their road stats, he's the one. I mean, it's not every single game, but he's led them in scoring, I believe, in 4 of their road games. So, again, Purdue did look better in the second half, but I think Michigan, to hold on the way that they did, to close things out the way they did, making 11 of their final 12 free throws.
Thank God, man. My heart pressure, my blood pressure.
Well, and Purdue started the foul thing a little early.
They did. With like 2.5 minutes ago, they grabbed Xavier, and yeah, it was not.
It was a clutch win. They've had a few of those. I know it was comfortable. I know they had a lead the whole time. It was reminiscent a little bit of that Indiana game, but Michigan State, Northwestern, whatever. Indiana, and then this week Rutgers and Purdue, both games that they had some push. It wasn't like Michigan. I don't think they shot above 30% on their threes in either game, and that's I've said a lot this year. I feel like this is a little bit of a live by the 3, die by the 3 team because they don't have a lot of natural playmakers, and they lost enough on the defensive side of the ball that it was going to be tough. Well, they found new things on the defensive side of the ball, and their defense looks very good. They don't necessarily need to hit 1 billion threes. And the more ways you can win, whether it's hitting threes or playing defense or doing something else, the more likely you are to keep winning in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I've said a couple of times, I just don't know if Michigan, if they're going to be able to win every game going forward with defense, they've got to win with horses at some point. But maybe not. I mean, they won with defense a year ago. So did Texas Tech. Texas Tech won with defense.
UVA.
And Virginia won with defense. And so, yeah, if you can hold a team to 55 points or 60 points in the NCAA tournament, chances are you're going to win those games. All right, coming up on the show today, a little bit more on Michigan basketball, including Franz Wagner. Where does he fit in the Freshman of the Year race? Plus a couple of shout-outs to some of the Olympic sports, including women's gymnastics. Women's basketball had a huge win, swept Michigan State for the first time since the 2014-15 season. Saw that earlier on Twitter. And we'll get into a little bit of spring football preview for this Michigan team. This Inside Huddle on Sports Talk 1050, WTK ticket. You guys can all vacate for, what was it?
Who's coming in?
That was your best one.
Oh, what'd he say?
What the hell? There's a bear right there.